Themes of depression and self-harm in this chapter. This is a warning. Gonta was gone, executed for all of us to see. I just let the tears fall. I looked up, and through my blurry vision, I saw Kokichi, just standing there, with a blank expression. I was about to walk over to him to see if he was doing alright, before he showed us all the real him. Nothing but malice. Pure malice. Maybe I went a little bit too far this time, with my villain persona. Suichi said I was alone and would always be, and he was right. Who would want to be with someone like me? I have so many flaws, and I try to hide them by making everyone think I'm this great person, when in reality, I'm just a worthless nobody pleading for attention. After me and Kaito had our argument and Suichi said what he said, I walked back to my room. When I got through the door, I immediately fell to the floor, dropping my mask and bursting into tears. This is all my fault. Gonta was the only one who could kind of tolerate me, besides Suichi. I looked over to my whiteboard. My eyes went to the picture of Suichi, making the feeling of guilt and despair double. My tears felt like fire burning down my cheeks. I wiped them, trying to compose myself before the others came back. Then I thought, who would even care if I'm like this? They would only think I'm lying anyway. I let the feeling consume me, hands going to my hair and pulling. I needed some way to punish myself for what I have done. My mind went to the blade in the drawer. I was walking back to the dorms, feelings of hopelessness closing anything else out of my mind. No one else was coming to the dorms, yet most of them were still in the trial room, but I had to get out of there. After what I saw, I shook my head. I should try to not think about that. I lifted my head from its place, looking down at the floor to hear someone sobbing? Who could be crying in the dorms right now? Himiko? Kibo? I walked closer to the source to see what was coming from Kokichi's room. I walked up there more to see what was going on, not to see Kokichi. Don't get me wrong, I'm worried about him, but after what happened, I'm more disappointed that I fell for him. I noticed immediately that his door was wide open. Worried, I quickly went into the room, and what I saw made the worried feeling only increase. Suichi was on the floor with a blade in his hand, one arm on the nightstand of his bed, the other clutching the blade. I ran over to him, grabbing the blade, throwing it across the room. I just looked at him crying and shaking, and I felt my heart shatter. Is this just a lie? Is he doing this just to get a reaction from me? Suichi, just leave. Pretend you never saw this and go on with your day, he said, looking at me, pushing my hand away from his bloodied arm. He didn't have any smirk or any teasing look in his eyes. I may just be noticing this now, but his eyes had bags under them, and he looked so exhausted and tired, I was surprised he was still awake. His hands pushed me away, but his eyes told me he wanted someone to help him. The guilt of the words that I said earlier kicked in. I could feel my cheeks become wet. Suichi, you don't have to feel bad. I deserved that. Just go, he said, giving me another weak shove to my chest. I wrapped my arms around his back, not listening to his pleas for me to leave. Kokichi, I'm so sorry for what I said before. I was only thinking of myself and didn't even consider that you might have been affected by all of this. I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I see now that you really aren't who you made me believe you were. And you're not the person who made me feel heartbroken for loving. I want to help you, Kokichi. I can see why you wouldn't want my help, I said with a blush coming to my face, only to be cut off by a sniffle coming from Kokichi. I looked down and saw tears falling out of his eyes before he looked into my eyes with an angry expression on his face. Don't lie to me, Suichi. I'm done putting up with lies from other people. I already have to deal with so many lies for myself, he screamed at me. He's been lying to himself. This all makes so much sense. A small frown formed on my face. He thinks I'm lying. He must have felt so alone this entire time, lying to everyone, just to be able to lie to himself. I'm so sorry I was just adding to all the torment everyone was giving you. I pulled him into my chest, petting his hair slowly. Kokichi, I'm not lying. Really, I want to help you, I said, pulling away to look at his face. He didn't say anything, he just looked at me dumbfounded. You really want to help someone like me? He asked, confused. I smiled. Yes, Kokichi, I want to make sure you're okay. And I'm willing to help you get there every step of the way, I said, trying to comfort him as best as I could. Sorry, this is all just so hard to believe. Before you said I was alone and was always going to be, and you couldn't have been more right, he said, pulling away and slouching his back against the bed, putting his head in his hands. Kokichi, what I said before meant nothing. I was so focused on how you made me feel that I didn't even think about you at all. Don't ever think what I said earlier means anything about you. Because you seem hard to approach and a little childish, but you can be super smart and fun and interesting to be around. And all of that is why I'm so fond of you, Kokichi. I said the last part under my breath, but the blush on Kokichi's face told me he heard every word. He moved before my brain could process his reaction, and warm lips crashed onto mine only for a moment before he pulled away. Thanks for saying that, Suichi, even if it was a lie. He barely even finished his sentence before he fell asleep on my chest. I was concerned at first, before realizing that he was getting the sleep he needed. I got up and put him into the bed before cleaning and bandaging the wounds on his arms. After I put the covers over him and planted a kiss on his forehead. I'm glad I got to see the real you, Kokichi. I went back to my room before Kokichi called my name. Suichi, could you stay with me? I don't want to be alone, he said, shaking his head, trying to stay awake to hear my response. I placed a small smile on my lips. Of course, Kokichi, I said, closing and locking the door before walking away to the bed before he fell back onto his pillow. Right when I got into the covers beside him. Of course, Kokichi, I said, closing and locking the door before walking over to the bed before he fell back onto the pillow. Right when I got into the covers beside him, he turned, and with half-lidded eyes, he looked up at me after moving into my chest. Thanks, Suichi, he said before closing his eyes for the final time and finally giving his body the rest it needed. Nuzzling into my chest, he let out a content sigh. I should thank you, Kokichi, for being the real you, I said before surrendering myself to sleep and letting my eyes close.